Right everyone, well good evening and welcome to Wentworth Parish Council meeting on the 16th of January 2019 and a very belated Happy New Year to you all. Any apologies for absence?
Just apologies for Steve George at the moment, Chairman.
Okay, we'll move on to reports from county and district councillors. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, not a huge amount to report from last time, Chairman, actually. I mean, I was hoping Steve was going to be here tonight because he was tasked having a go at these phantom chevrons, which still haven't appeared, I don't think. So I'll have to leave that one in his capable hands. The only thing I got, which came through today for you, actually, but I'm sure that your copy's on the post. This is the footpath modification at Andrew.
I had it through this morning.
Oh, you had it? Right. I thought I'd bring it to you because I didn't have to file it in my own bit. I think as I reported last time, I didn't make a note that I reported it last time, but the County Council's in much better financial health than it has been, so we're actually still working.
It's good news.
Don't ask for lots of money, but we are still here.
Have you spent the £10 million you found yet?
No, we have well kept our fingers crossed because well, we've had a very mild winter, haven't we? And two issues. One, obviously, every time the gritters go out pre-salting, it's £70,000. So I guess they're out to play tonight, so they'll certainly be out tomorrow night. But kind of every week that goes by, and I think by most people's reckoning, we're more than halfway through the winter today. And the other thing is that because of our relationship with the hospitals, we've managed to keep lots of their beds vacant for them. So we haven't had a winter crisis in the NHS yet, although from the NHS's point of view, winter goes through to March, apparently, including March. So there we are. Okay. I'm quite happy to take any questions, and I'll sit and listen to the progress.
Okay, thanks David. Any questions anyone?
Can I ask a question about the footpath across the crossbar development? The footpath across the crossbar development has got a notice up saying it's going to be closed.
Right.
Okay, well I live opposite and it is a very, very well used footpath. And I was just wondering if could it not be diverted? Because
Sorry, is it closed for what reason?
Because they're building a development.
So they would temporarily close it?
Yes. Yeah, but I mean it might be here, mightn't it? And it's just it is so well used that I think people will get a bit. Well, I think they'll find other ways round.
I think the diversion was on the cards, was published actually.
Yeah. Oh, was it?
I think so.
Oh, well,
think
that's
it's
all I've read is it says it's closed.
As part of closing it, you have to provide a diversion anyway.
Well, I wasn't quite sure of the form, but that was my understanding.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure one's been proposed, the diversion.
Oh, well, I wasn't aware that.
Usually the one that comes out in Coombe Batch, I think that's involved, the one up here. Because that comes in the yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I seem to remember reading
If
it.
need be, we can look it
I
up.
must have missed that.
So, you don't need me to do anything about that.
No,
We think that's been...
I'll check and confirm it, but I'm pretty sure there was something that came out
Thank you.
about that.
Okay, anyone else? Two? No? Nick?
Trivial, beyond belief. Sorry, mate. Yermore Drove. Does it ring in? No, you wouldn't know about it. But I'm getting grief from residents in Yermore Drove about gravel and stuff.
Gravel.
Gravel, yeah, gravel and whatever. It's incredibly trivial. But yeah, at least one of the local residents rides a motorbike, and he's a little concerned about the hazard. He got a bad foot as well. I don't know, but if you come across it, is there anything you can do about it? And actually,
So let's get this right. Yermore Drove,
yeah,
as the name suggests, is probably...
yes, you're right. You're right.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And now it's got gravel on it?
It does have gravel on it for a reason, and it's not been cleaned. Actually, highways have been out. They've stuck a sign up saying "Beware," that sort of thing. So I think due diligence has been shown.
Because droves are usually just for access by the landowners, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're not normally...
It actually is a bit more than the drove.
Yes, it goes right the way round, doesn't it?
So is it right of way?
I think it is.
It's council owned.
Yeah, yeah, it's council owned, I would have thought.
I don't.
What do you want me to do about it?
I don't think there's anything you can do about it. But since I would raise it.
So just moving on from that, does it apply with the bridleway as well? With regard, there was a incident down over from Heath House where a young girl horse rider fell into a 4-foot pothole.
Yeah, they're on
4
that.
foot?
Single.
Yes, definitely, yes.
Yeah.
They're on that.
Where I know there's, but some of the landowners wanted to clarify who was responsible for maintaining the bridleway, even though they use it for access for their land. So, but
That's
some
rather
say
more
close.
serious, I would have to say. Can somebody drop me an email about that?
Yeah,
Chris East
certainly.
knows all about it.
Hmm?
Chris East knows all about
Yeah,
it.
it's all in the process, but it might be worth just clarifying with regard to landowners' responsibilities, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think that my experience on some of these is that if there's any serious maintenance involved with them, you know, we actually exercise the right to close them. Because they're frankly not a priority. I don't even mind saying that with a camera. I mean, they're not at the forefront of our priorities.
No.
But safety, and if there is a safety issue, and it would be expensive to solve, I suspect that might be the answer. But landlords have some responsibility as well. So.
And you can see from travelling there, I cycle down there, but you can see that landowners have done their bit by filling in potholes from time to time
Right.
with builders' rubble and what have you. So,
Right.
there is an ongoing.
Okay.
2 horses have fallen in now. And there were 2 incidents. They were really lucky they didn't break anything.
So, and who's dealing with this?
Well, Chris Easter, Somerset County Council, is with footpaths. It's closed apparently, and the notice is up both ends.
The notices are up. and
That's
it's
what I
marked
rather
as
suspected we'd do. Yes.
Yeah, so it's closed.
And what is the name of this bridleway?
It's Jack's Drove.
Jack, as in Jack Horner.
Yeah.
Which one after Jack?
Tilham Moor, it's just off Tilham Moor.
I personally witnessed a 4x4 going into it the other day and came to a grinding halt.
The first one, the second or the third?
first.
The first one
Just
on,
over the
on,
first
on the
bike
right.
bridge, yeah. No, on the left hand
On the
side.
left?
Yeah, as you
Going
go
back
down.
towards...
Yeah. Where
Okay,
Jimmy Pippert has his pumping tractor.
I'll get it. I'll.
Anyway,
I shall do some investigation just for my own peace of mind, and if I find anything exciting, I'll report it to the club.
Yeah, certainly. I think we're very lucky that no one's been really injured or animals. So, anyway, I think that's it. David, thank you.
Can I have something like I was going to bring up on the highway? There's at least 2 sets of ice signs up, and they're up all the time. Now, people won't take no notice of them when they need to be put up. Should not somebody take them down and put them into the hedge, straight into the hedge or something?
Yes.
Yeah. Down Billings Hill and all that along our road.
Down yesterday.
Yeah.
That was led down.
Oh, it's like down.
Ours and on Top Dungeon and all that.
No, it's still up.
And I mean, nobody will take no notice when it is icy on it.
I think the simple answer to the question, Jess, is
Take it
yes,
yourself.
somebody should do.
Yeah.
But I think they're a bit short of troops, if I'm honest.
Can't keep on coming out, I suppose, can they?
Not just
No,
one.
no,
They appeared on a day when there was no ice at all.
Yeah, there wasn't.
It was ridiculous.
Well, I take them away in March,
So
maybe,
would that
in
not-
the winter.
Would it not suggest that there was an ongoing issue where water was running out and there was a highway issue anyway?
I can think of the lane up here, which is always got,
Yeah.
and that will have a nice sign there, won't it?
Yeah.
On a more permanent basis.
So perhaps we ought to get to the bottom of what's causing the problem initially and then...
Well, the one saw it along our road.
No.
And I say the one at the bottom of Billings Hill was because of the water that was coming down, and that has been seen to.
Mhm.
So that really is hardly necessary now.
Okay. I think that's it.
Good news,
Is that
thank you. I'm going to listen to the update.
Okay, just over to Polly and then we'll...
Well, I haven't got an awful lot. I missed a couple of meetings, so I've got to borrow Glennis's glasses because I've not had one at home. I missed a couple of meetings, so I wasn't terribly well. Today we've had a licensing general purposes committee meeting about community governance review for Chapel Allison Parish Council. And they want to increase their number of parish councillors from 5 to 6. The review has to go to full council. It had to come to the committee because we had to make a decision whether it happens or not. It'll be a cost of about £2,500 to the district council. They'll have to find that from somewhere. It'll take about 12 months to do. The annoying thing was that in 2015, February 2015, Chapel Allerton came and did the same thing, but they were too late because it takes a year to do, so they were never going to get their councillors in for the next elections. So they left it again until the last minute. Right, okay, so the chairman and I were suggesting that perhaps we leave it until we know. They say they've got people who want to fill the spaces. The current chairman's very poorly, there's very rarely people turn up to the meetings anyway, so it's a bit of a shambles. However, our point was that they've still missed the boat for this time round, so actually, why don't we leave it till we know how many people they've got potentially to stand, and then we might spend the money and do it. However, we didn't win that vote, the rest of the committee decided to just go ahead with it, so we will suggest that maybe they, instead of just adding an extra councillor, they try and go for 7 councillors instead, so they've covered themselves completely. I've dealt with quite a lot of footpath issues and stiles and gates. Sent this to Chris East at Somerset County Council, and I think we're on top of that. I've just heard today from Harry at Cross Farm, they don't think they will start until February now, because they haven't heard from Sedgemoor about the planning permission for the public aqua space. So that's it for that.
Okay. Thank you, Polly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Right, item 3, to record any declarations of interest. None. Item 4, minutes of the meeting held on the 19th of December.
Been circulated, Chair. I've had no comments on them.
Okay. Oops, the wine helped.
Yes, this is sausage rolls. Sausage rolls, isn't it?
Okay, item 6, any matters arising. Item 8, disabled access update.
Do you want to do that, Chairman?
Well, you can, because you've been liaising with Pete. So.
Yeah, well, we had some plans drawn up by Pete Brown's colleagues, and we worked out in the end we probably will need planning permission for it. I think I might say that. But at the same time, when we were speaking to somebody at Sedgemoor Homes, who own the bungalows here, you may remember on the planning committee, were granted planning permission for extending their lay-by and altering the parking setup out there. Now they've said it'd be a good idea to work with us, and the parish council here, to do the whole lot in one, so we can have our disabled access and a parking space in conjunction with them. And Pete Brown's offered to act on behalf of the council as sort of an agent, a go-between, to liaise between us and Sedgemoor, so we get what we want at the end of the day, incorporating Pete's drawings. So I think that's
Surely sensible idea.
Yeah, great idea.
Joined up thinking.
Meeting Paul Roberts next Wednesday.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Great, so Suzanne, we've got some progress going on there. That's really good.
Mr Chairman, 18/12/9. The community, Axbridge Community Health Summit, have we had a reply to
No, I've had no reply back from you.
That's right.
Mike Ripple was asked to be this week, what I heard from her, and I said that.
No.
Go for the minutes now. Okay. Moving on to financial matters, item 7.
Everything's been paid, Chairman, and the books balanced to a penny again, which is good news. And thanks to Laura and Suzanne.
If it's okay with everyone, I'd like to move item 8 to 13 and then Pete Brown up to the next item on the agenda. Pete, is that okay?
Yeah.
Don't get away there, Ryan. If you so wish.
Well, introduce myself to the camera, then probably turn my back to it for the rest of the evening.
Please do.
I thought you might be interested to know first off that since I first came to see you in 2011 to propose some sort of pie-in-the-sky scheme for developments up at the playing field that raised a few eyebrows. We have raised to date £1,398,573. Very sadly, we seem to have spent most of it and still however, unfortunately, modern technology, we're nearly there, but maybe for another meeting I'll come in and show you some photographs. But I sent Rod a series of photographs just showing where we started and a series of photos of where we are now with the build. As you are aware, we started work the week before the schools went back, got the existing building demolished and all the mess out of the way before school started, which saved a lot of aggro, and then fenced off the site and have been working steadily since. I'm pleased to report, as of yesterday's progress meeting, the project is on schedule. It is also on budget, which is good. The initial budget was set at £510,000, that's the cost of the build. That excludes professional fees, VAT, etc, etc. But with the additional grant funding that has come in over the last 6 months, that has now been increased to a figure of £625,000. This will basically enable us to fit out the whole of the ground floor and complete the majority of the external works. Some of you might have noticed that there are now 108 solar panels on the south elevation that greet you when you pull into the car park. We've had to divert funds, approximately 8,000, to make sure that that phase of the project was installed now, because the feed-in tariffs run out in March, or at least the government ceases payment, and so there is a mad rush across the country for people who are planning PVs to suddenly get them in, and so we had to accelerate that order, even though it was ahead of designated funds being available, just so that we qualified for the feed-in tariff, because that feed-in tariff combined with the electricity generation will produce something like £4,200 a year, which will not only put sufficient funds into a sinking fund to replace the PVs in 20 years when they eventually pack up, it'll give us sufficient funds to maintain the building. The beauty about the PV scenario is that it's a complete no-brainer, because when the current management committee retire, any incumbents, there's no financial headache. The building is just quietly paying for itself thanks to the sun that he might provide for us. One thing that you'll see in the February edition of the Isle of Wetmore News is that we are having an open morning on the site on Sunday the 10th of February from 10 AM till 12, and anyone in the parish, and especially local councillors, welcome to come and have a look around and see what has been constructed to date. The planned opening, in other words when we hope to be complete and operational, is Saturday, May the 3rd, which is the first Saturday of the cricket season. The build phase should be complete. There are a couple of external weather permitting items, so we can always get tripped up by those, but should be complete in April. But then we've got fit out of kitchens, fit out of bars, internal bits and pieces that aren't necessarily going through the main contract, so there's a bit of tying together to get it so that the building can operate. But at the moment, until someone tells me otherwise, I think we're on programme to achieve that. What we have done with some of the additional funds that have come in, you might have been aware that we got £20,000 from the National Grid Community Fund, because the majority of the catchment of the children that use the playing fields, who are exactly the same as the Hugh Sexy and Kings of Wessex catchment, and the National Grid were keen to get a bit of positive publicity to offset the pylon works that will be going through, so they very kindly gave us £20,000. We tried very, very hard to get some money out of the Hinkley C mitigation fund, but unfortunately we're not suffering any direct adverse effects as a result of the construction of Hinkley C, and if we are, they are extremely tangible and not really very easy to prove. I've spoken to numerous people either on their grants committee or related to it, and we haven't got a chance. With that in mind, I then wrote to Lady Gas, who obviously did rather well out of the sale of the plot of land on which it's being built, and she very kindly sent us £10,000. So you give with one, take with the other. So, you know, so with that additional funding that's come in over the last few months, there were works that had been rightly taken out. We were able to put back in the big dormer window that you see on the north elevation, which overlooks the pitches. We have also put in the staircase to the first floor, rather than just putting in a temporary hatch to get the plant room in there. We put the full staircase in, and we are able to board out the whole of the first floor area. That still leaves us with significant work to complete the fit out, but at the moment that's where we're going to stop the work. So when you come, should you choose to come on Sunday the 10th, you'll be able to go up the stairs, have a look round, see what you can see, and see that there's just one more little project needed to finish it off. My best guess, using rates that we've already established on the job, is that that remainder of that first floor fit out is going to be somewhere in the region of about £75,000 to £80,000. I mean, just for your information, that Neil's given me Neil Tucker, who's doing the work, has given me just a standalone price just for the insulation required to go up, across, down and back down. Well, that's nearly £16,000 just for the insulation. That's not him fitting it, that's just the insulation. Okay, so it gives you an idea of where that budget builds up from. We've got opportunities. There are a few funding opportunities left to us because we've exploited most of them and gone round. But we have got opportunities to go back to Garfield Western Foundation because we didn't get any money out of them last time round, and I don't think they thought our project was going to get off the ground. And we've also got the chance to go back to the Bernard Sunley Charitable Trust, who also didn't think that our project was going to get off the ground. So I've been speaking to both parties and we'll submit other applications into them. Best guess, we might get 10 out of each. You don't know. I mean, it's purely discretional. Sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. Awards for all, the big lottery fund, I'm hoping to target that to get the disabled lift in, to get us up to the first floor. And the other remaining sum that I was sort of eyeing up was the £44,330 that will drop into the RLT3 pot when the foundations of the first residence on Cross Farm are dug and poured. And therefore I'm sort of standing in front of the Parish Council asking for your support for an application to the RLT3 fund for that money. Now, whether Cheddar and Axbridge, because unfortunately it's still in the cluster arrangements have changed. No longer is funding decided by the cluster committee, it's decided by the grants committee directly. But that doesn't mean that Cheddar or Axbridge or anyone else couldn't happen to spot that money dropping in and put in applications equally worthy, quite possibly, for the same amount of funds. So there's no guarantee that we'll get all of that money or even a fraction of it. But if I could have your support to make the application, we'll find out.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Yeah. These numbers are probably more of interest to Neil. because he's more familiar with building numbers. But on completion of the project in May, our build cost per square metre will be £1,383 a square metre, which he will tell you that most modern houses these days are being built to a budget of somewhere around £1,750 to £2,000 a square metre. But because of the work that the first phase has already contributed to the first floor, if we manage to fit out the first floor for that approximate budget, our build cost per square metre over the whole project will work out at almost exactly £1,000 a square metre.
Cool.
Which is pretty good value for money. Okay, that's an update on the thing. Hope to see you on Sunday the 10th. The next one to update you about is the car park. Now, I think at my last visit to the Parish Council offices, I sort of tentatively said that it was always our wish to try and complete the car park, the surfacing of the remainder of the car park. And to that end, I've got updated costs from RK Bell and a subcontractor to line mark the car park. Basically the budget's 30k, give or take about £6. The tennis club have promised £5,000 towards it. The bowls club have promised £3,000 towards it, but you have to bear in mind that they already gave £10,000 towards the last part of the car park extension, so I think they've made their fair contribution. If anyone was asking if the junior football club were going to offer anything, well, towards the new pavilion they've raised £17,500, and towards the pitches in the car park first time round they raised £17,000. They haven't actually got any money left to put any money towards the car park, but that doesn't stop me from asking them, but I don't think they have got any money left because they emptied their pockets for the pavilion. Previously, and it was only mentioned very quietly by the Parish Council, that there might be a sum of £5,000 that could be possibly directed towards finishing off the car park. So one question is that sum, or was it ever actually on the table? Because if it was, it would be very handy.
Yeah, I do recall, yeah.
And if we sort of suggested that it was, and take the 5, the 3 and the 5 from the 30, that gives us a shortfall of 17. I've been speaking to Scott Mason down at Sedgemoor District Council Parks and Open Spaces, and in a roundabout way persuaded him that because the car park is immediately adjacent to the play area and a nice level surface with ample parking and disabled parking bays would be for the benefit of all play area users, that RLT2 funds, which are normally for play area equipment and play area fencing, etc., could be spent on finishing the car park in the immediate vicinity of the play area. So I spoke to Scott today and qualified that his position hadn't changed, and it hadn't. Currently in the RLT2 pot there is 3,965, so we'll call that 4,000. When the cross farm development lands, there is a further 46,860, and then there is a further 3,700 in the pending pot, which is related to another construction somewhere, which will drop in. But essentially there's about £54,000 of RLT2 money sat there. When we initially constructed the play area, and then actually got a bit carried away chasing grants, we raised, I remember I didn't even need to write it down actually, we raised £99,750 to set up that original play area, but there is a space in the middle that had always been left for one piece of large climbing equipment, age group 12 to 15, that at the time we costed at about 20 grand, but never had the money, and our sources had sort of dried up at that point, so we parked it where it was. So there's an opportunity with that 54 in the RLT2 pot to complete that play area. However, there are other demands locally for other things going on, and I'm not here, you know, there's a play area at Thiel, there's a play area at Blackford, and they're all very worthy for the money that comes into the RLT2 pot, and we're all conscious that contributions directly associated to RLT2 are basically disappearing in favour of SIL. So SIL monies will come direct to the parish council, and they will be yours to spend on whatever you wish, rather than primarily designated to play areas. But it would be very nice if the parish council would support an application to the RLT2 pot, as and when the cross-farm development drops in, of £17,000, and I was wondering if the parish council would be supportive of such an application, because there are so few sources of funding for car parks. It just doesn't tick anyone's boxes. It just,
Boring, isn't it?
you know, nobody can splash across the headlines of the local press. Look at the fabulous surfaced car park we did. I mean, it's just, there is no money. This is possibly, with the momentum that we've got on the projects that are going on up there, it is probably the last realistic chance we've got of tidying it all up, and it would be lovely to do it, but I totally appreciate if others wish to spend the RLT2 monies elsewhere. So I don't necessarily need an answer on that tonight.
No, rightly
if you
so.
want to debate it without, if you want to debate it without me in the room, I'm more than happy to disappear and wait for correspondence from Rod, one way or the other. But it's a fantastic opportunity that the cross-farm development is giving us to just finish things off really nicely up there, and everyone can walk away happy that we've done our best. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pete. I think, may I take the opportunity really just to thank you on behalf of the parish council and the community really for what you've put in. I'd hate actually to put a cost on your time of what you've put into it to create what is, you know, is a great, or will be a great facility for not only the locals but further afield. So yeah, thank you very much for what you've done really. And with regard to the RLT2 funds, there is a proposal that I think to a degree that we can support that, but we are looking to do some various other things with the play areas as a whole.
Yep.
Something I brought up for Christmas, that we're going to look at maybe bringing all the play areas under one umbrella, because the membership or leadership with regard to the committees is dwindling. So perhaps we can talk separately about that and bring Holly in, and we can go from there really. So I think we'll put that on the agenda for next month, and we can discuss it. Certainly in the certainly support for funds for the car park and what have you. Anyway, so yeah, well done. Anyone else like to add anything?
Can I just say that I'm so pleased that it's come to this, and I think all those years ago, was it only 2011? It seemed a lot longer to me, but I mean that's fantastic achievement in that period of time, and I think when it started, these, well, they're now coming to the end, these RTL 2-3 pots of money, and I think at the time, I think the parish council invested in a nice plan. Do you remember the original? Because everybody was sending in applications on the back of envelopes. Yeah. And I think I said at the time, I think most of the people who sit on these grant committees look at something on the back of an envelope and it says give us 14 grand, and they go, no. Whereas if you go away and write it on a nice envelope and type it up on a nice envelope and you know what you're talking about, and you ask for 50 or 60 grand, they go, well, this looks very professional and this is obviously going to work. Well, was it £99,000 to start with has morphed into, what was it again?
1.4 basically.
£1.4 million and rising. So I think it's a fine endorsement of, well, certainly the marvellous effort that Pete's made, and also that all the communities got together. And every time I listen to Pete, I scratch my head thinking, there must be some more money out there somewhere. But he seems like even mugging poor old Elizabeth Gass is really very, very, it's very special, really. Yes, excellent.
I should have gone on record, Neil, to thank Mrs. Metters very kindly for the safari supper, which raised far more money than we ever expected.
Yeah, great, wasn't it?
Thank you very much.
It was.
It's very small fry. We'll have to do it again.
Small acorns.
Yes, indeed. Every bit counts.
Okay.
Can I just ask, you mentioned that the junior football were contributing a very good amount. What about the other clubs?
The cricket club have the cricket club. A lot of clubs are cyclical. The cricket club 15 years ago were very strong. They've come down. Then they've now turned the corner and they're well on the way back up again. But they're certainly nowhere near as strong as the junior football club, and there isn't the sort of generated income that they can muster, nothing like the junior football club get. But they have put £3,000 towards the pavilion building, which was basically as much as they had with, and they also fundraised towards it. I have constantly approached Andy Fairburn, who's the ECB, Somerset County ECB rep, and there is no money. I mean, there really is no money in cricket, and what money there is diverted to clubs that are a lot bigger than Wetmore. And I did catch him the other day, and he said, "You must be psychic." And I said, "Why was that?" He said, "It's just landed in my inbox. There's a deal from the ECB where they're going to sponsor 260 clubs nationwide to the tune of £1,000. He forwarded me the email. We completed the form between myself and Bob by the next day, and were awarded the money by the end of the week. So sometimes you're just lucky, but you have got to keep your ear to the ground at all times, because as fast as the money appears, it disappears. But there is no money in cricket, unfortunately. The FA are awash with cash, but equally we've now had our fair share, so we might have to wait at least another couple of years before we can resurface the mugger, re-fence it and re-lamp it. But I'm hoping that the FA will come across with some money to help us out.
Okay.
Everybody else.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you. Cheers.
Okay, in a timely manner, item 9, to consider a worthy winner of the Henry Dutt Trophy 2018. I believe we have now
3 names now.
3 names.
Block.
Do we say this
No,
will
well,
be
I
recorded?
That needs to be recorded. I've got a list of here which Cameron will pick up. I'll just pass it round. If anybody else wants to add any more, we don't make a decision until February.
So next month.
Because it'll be in the Isle of Wetmore News. Next one.
I emailed you with rather actually acting as a other suggestion, but there are at least 2 names on there. In fact, I thought the 3 names were extremely worthy people, and it seems the most awful shame that 2 of them don't get any recognition. It doesn't happen every year that we have so many people, but I was wondering how we could possibly honour the people that really deserve it, because when they don't get it this year, their chance has passed. And I was wondering how we can honour them in some way.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a very good.
It's what I put in the email, you know, I
Yeah.
think there's people that deserve to be recognised
Yeah.
apart from the Henry Butt Trophy.
Yeah.
I'd like to speak a bit more openly about it without it being recorded, to be fair, as a confidential item before next month, but
Yeah.
the only other,
Can we not turn that off?
Can we do that at the
I
end?
don't know protocol,
We can't turn off now we record it.
No,
So it's not on
so-
the agenda as a confidential item.
so,
Some people pick up on that.
so we can't do it unfortunately just due to
So
protocol of the
could we do it
meeting,
at the
but
end of the meeting?
Yeah.
No, we can't. It's not.
it's not on the agenda, you see, as part of the agenda, but not as a confidential item on the agenda. So unfortunately can't.
Could we do it next
Yes,
next meeting in
yes.
February?
Yes,
And mark it as a
Yes, we can do it
confidential
then.
item? Okay.
because we don't need to make a choice. You can put your names on there if you
Please
wish.
please add to that piece of paper, it's fine. That isn't the full list of,
No.
you know, it's still deliberation of who we think and possibly what else we could do. Okay? Yes, Nick?
So it's not quite right, because actually proposees, anyway, people who've been proposed 1 year do carry over to future years. So it's not a one-off chance. It does.
But
No,
that,
I
I
appreciate
understand what you're
that.
saying, but certain things that are happening this year, that moment will have passed. I understand where you're coming from.
Well, this is the
With regards
recognition.
to various things that are going
And
on
then
in the
we
village, yeah.
see in another year, hopefully we've got more people worthy, you know, it's.
I'm sure there will be,
it's
and there
only
will be.
one, there will be. So I.
There's only one trophy.
Yes, well, do we need to only have one trophy is what I'm going to say. You know, we could perhaps have a parish council trophy or an individual trophy.
Well, the other
things.
suggestions was maybe a bench or a plaque.
Bench.
Yes?
I'm sorry.
A memorial bench or a
Yep, I think, you see, I thought
or a plaque
the
or.
bench I thought particularly
So-
a good idea.
So there's various that we can do.
Yeah.
So
Good,
okay,
yeah, thank you.
it all seems a bit cloak and dagger, doesn't
It
it?
does a bit, doesn't it?
But also what I can't understand now is that this is about him asking about the request for RLT support. It's on the agenda, why can't we not say that, why can we not discuss that now?
That's why I put it on there for that reason.
We can
Just to
suggest
consider
it.
the funding. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I mean, I would like to propose that we give him the support he needs.
Yeah.
I think yes, I think we're not in agreement. I take
Yeah,
that
that was-
as it's
There's £5,000 and then going for the RLT2 money for the
Yeah.
car park. I was just I
Yes.
just assumed, sorry, that.
No, I'd like to propose that we do that.
Yeah, that's-
great.
Second it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I'm sure everybody's in agreement.
Well, no, that's good.
Yeah.
I think we'd all be cast into the brook if we didn't.
He'll probably write out his application.
We will have to do a formal letter from the parish council anyway, so
Yeah.
Rod will put something to Pete anyway. won't
He's
he?
writing that in
Did
script.
we miss one out? Consider the speaker for the annual.
No, that's-
No, it's going back to item 13.
Oh, right.
So we
okay.
swapped item 8 for 13, 13 back to 8.
Okay.
Alright? Saved any further
Sorry.
confusion. So we're on now to item 10.
Right, there's a request, well you always say no to, Chairman, but Mendip Community Transport have written and asking for an operational grant again this year. They do get some funding from us indirectly through funding the 67 bus because they're part of that. But they talk about their Sinky bus and which is active in this area. But we've not supported them in the past. We just said sorry, but we can't do that.
Nick?
So I think
Sorry,
Yeah.
I missed the last meeting, for which I do apologise. But there was something at the last meeting which David put forward about they've got loads of money for transport.
Well, no, yeah, the 67 bus.
Well, I was
I
just
went-
wondering.
I went instead of you because you couldn't.
No, before that.
Okay.
Last meeting, David spoke about money, it's in the minutes, for community transport. And I'm just thinking, was that for transport in general, or did that include 67 too? It was in the minutes, and I just went, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Alright, we don't have to look at it now, but it was just, if anybody else remembered it, I was just thinking.
Yeah, I can remember something about it now.
It was there.
Councillor Huxtable reported the council were now in a position to continue funding local bus services for the foreseeable future.
Now, is that 67?
And was, it doesn't specify,
No, aren't they?
and was undertaking a survey of town centre parking needs.
So what is that funding? Oh, sorry.
That's what they pay for all the buses that don't fund, isn't it? Some trips in some areas, they're paying a colossal subsidy too.
Well, they do fund the 67
Yes,
for two journeys,
Yes.
don't they?
Yeah.
Getting them into Bridgewater, getting them into
It's just the kids.
Yeah.
Bridgewater
More-
College.
More for the kids, yeah, really.
Right, so
You can
so we're
use-
any more?
The public can use those buses if you want to, as long as you tell them you want to use it.
Yeah.
But you'll see, every year, you'll see a report in the local press that they subsidise these routes, and that's what they're talking about. They're going to continue subsidising them, as I understand it, on the same levels they have this
Right,
last
but it's no more.
No more.
Cool. Right.
Because they were talking of cutting it out.
Yeah. Alright, thank you very much, sorry about
Can I just ask, Chairman, we don't give them any more?
No.
Everybody's happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Item 11, Suzanne. To consider a request for a grant from Wetmore Arts.
4 Wetmore Arts.
4.
Yeah.
4
Yeah,
Wetmore Arts.
4, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I put back one, yeah, misprint.
Did I say from?
No, I said from,
Sorry, I
I
meant
For a grant.
I meant
That's nice
4.
of them.
Well, you've very kindly given it to us for the last 2 or 3 years. I just
Yeah.
wondered whether you would consider doing it again this year.
I'll propose that we do, Mr. Chairman.
£500 it was
Yeah.
last year.
Thank you very much indeed.
Very, yeah.
Second for that?
Yeah, voted on that.
No, I just had a proposal.
You're in
I've got a
colleagues.
proposal.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Second of Colin, was it?
Yeah, that's all right.
Favour?
Jessica and Colin. Everybody's presumed happy with that, Chairman.
Yes, for me to
You'll be doing it.
We have got some good names.
Yeah,
We're hoping for
Henry
Charles
Blofeld.
Grant. Sorry?
Henry Blofeld's coming out.
Oh, yes, Henry Blofeld, yes.
He's
Charles-
fiction.
And Charles Dance and maybe Kay Davey. We have got quite a lot.
Kay Davey.
Charles Dance.
Charles Dance and Kay Cady. Really?
Well, we do try and bring some different people into the village, but we'll hit with the best. But lots of big names like that, they won't actually say until we're very hard.
Right, okay. So there's some leading names, should we say?
Yes.
Okay, great. Item 12, so to consider a request from Sedgemoor Citizens Advice for a grant towards operating costs.
Well, this is a bit cheeky, because I had this letter come on the 1st of December. In July, we sent them £50. We had a letter in July. So I think that's probably good enough for this year, Chairman.
Yeah.
Every 6 months they're trying it.
Yeah.
Have we done 8?
Right?
We're just
coming back to
going to item, if you recall,
Yeah.
earlier on in the meeting,
we're getting
item 8 was swapped with item 13 and 13 is now swapped with 8. So now we'll go back
I had
to
trouble
what
with
was item 8,
It's now we're all
which is now item
Doesn't that
13.
taste nice, isn't it?
So to consider a speaker for the annual assembly.
I've had no suggestions at all on this one, Chairman, so I'll be grateful if somebody could come up with something that needs to be booked.
We do.
We have come up with some of the things.
I thought we had.
I thought we discussed it, we went, oh, that's
Wasn't
really
it
good.
wasn't it the passive house?
Somebody said the
Yeah,
MP,
but
I
then
think
they
that's
said
about,
he'd give
well, that was just a
a speak.
throwaway line.
Passive house man speaking at the next meeting.
Well, yes, but you see, I mean, you don't need to have him at the next meeting. I mean, he's got so much to say. Dennis Briaris, the passive house man.
Oh, right.
Would you like to put him as a speaker for the annual assembly?
He's coming in next month.
Next month.
I've seen his presentation, he showed me in here, he's been in and said his laptop.
But he's quite happy, I mean, he'd be quite happy not to do that. I'm quite happy to go to the annual assembly. He's very flexible.
yeah.
You might do both. I'm not being funny,
Well,
but
yes, but you need him both times.
Not really.
wow.
I mean, he has got an awful lot to say, and to put him into 5 or 10 minutes is hardly time enough for him to talk. But anyway.
So do you think we should cancel him for the meeting and book him for the speaker if he'll
I would think if you're short of him to speaker for the assembly, I would have thought the annual assembly, I would have thought that was the better place for him.
Gives him more time.
Yeah,
bigger
And
audience.
also, we could give him a bigger audience if
Yeah.
we try and
Well,
publicise
further
it.
members of the
Green
member of
group.
the
Green
public.
group, get them there.
It
Yeah.
was so good to have the green group there,
Yeah.
because they were not there at the meeting where he was faced with.
No.
Shall I ask him?
Approach him and then feedback. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
one
when
up
he's
to
back.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
That's a very, very
Do
nice.
you mind if I email him? He's in Australia at the moment.
He told me he's going to Australia.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll just tell him that that's what you're going to say.
Okay. I'll give you. I'll write to him next week then. And
Okay.
I'll warn him.
yeah. Okay.
Right, following all the confusion, item 14. To consider contributing to highway improvements at Coombe Lane.
Yes.
Say something?
Well, I think
Yes,
you might go on the
I
agenda.
think we're,
Okay. I have managed to speak to Mr. and Mrs. Dickey, got their views, and they did send me an email, but not till yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to pass it on to you yet. I haven't been able to catch up with the other frontages of Coombe Lane yet, so I was going to ask if we could defer till next month. It's been a bit of a busy month to try and catch people. And I will pass on the email from Mr. and Mrs. Dickey, which quite clearly states their thoughts and feelings about it. But from speaking to them, it's the feeling seems to be that there should be some regular maintenance, and that we should agree an amount, and everybody should contribute on a sort of yearly basis.
Okay.
And
I think-
sort of along those lines.
I think in the meantime, we'll run down and do some photos and stuff, just to highlight any areas that really need.
Yeah, actually Dave Tucker, I think, filled a huge one.
Yeah, it did, that's right.
There's a big concrete mass,
Yeah.
isn't there? But I don't know if anybody knows Dave Tucker's phone number, because I've not had any luck finding his phone number, and I don't like to sort
Yes,
of
I know.
march in on him. So.
Mhm.
But I'll endeavour to have a chat with everybody before the next meeting.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Item 15, to receive an update from the Neighbourhood Plan Committee and consider new proposals. Sue?
we haven't had anything other than it's over now, the consultation period, and it's going to an inspector shortly. I'm not quite sure exactly when, but sort of we are going to meet probably at the end of January, beginning of February, just to have an update on anything. But that's all I can say.
There's an email going around today on I didn't get a chance.
Something. I've said something out today, and I can't recall what it
Oh, I
says there.
didn't. I haven't.
He's talking to somebody that says more about this inspection. I
Yeah,
think. So.
yeah. He's on the case with it.
Yeah.
I think they've got the name of the lady, and he was very pleased because she did another local one, and she was
Yeah.
very quick. Because some of them can be really long-winded. And what we don't want to miss is the main election.
No, sure.
So we're hopeful at the moment.
Okay. Next.
No, it's just that I noticed an email tonight which
I
says
didn't. So I haven't got-
no, I'm not from the neighbourhood plan, but I see that
Oh,
the Sedgemoor LDF has now been accepted, but it's not going to be considered until February the 22nd. So that's interesting. So we're looking for a bit of a delay here, aren't we? The slower the LDF is picked up, the better from the neighbourhood plan point of view.
Not really,
You go on.
no.
Thank you.
Don't think it's because they have got they've had some suggestions, haven't they, from the inspectors.
Yeah,
So I think that's what they've got to tidy up.
yeah.
But I haven't gone into detail. I haven't got the headspace. I'm sorry.
No,
Okay. But as far as
As far as the neighbourhood plan is concerned, it doesn't really affect it.
No. Okay, item 16, any issues and questions raised by councillors? Jess?
Yeah, yeah.
Edwin? Pete? No. Mike?
Well, only one. Is there going to be an advert put in for the councillors while standing down? In the Isle of Wellington, so people was aware to put their names forward for.
We ought to do something, Chairman.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind it's a month ahead.
Is everyone, presumably everyone collected their thoughts now about what they're proposing to do in May. Obviously you don't have to say anything now, but it would be handy to know anyway. But we've got to go on some training, haven't we? So
Yeah, we're going on a training session to do with the elections, which is on May the 2nd, by the way. We're still one councillor short for Blackford as well. We're running since Alex Whittaker went, so we're still running one short, but 15 instead of 16.
it would be beneficial maybe if you made your thoughts known to yourself or Rod. Certainly no one else if you don't feel you need to, but certainly not in this environment. But
No, I just wanted, go in the Webmore News.
Yeah.
Around to put their names forward.
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
I'm sure there will be some vacancies, so I'll put it like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I'll get something done for the next issue. That's a good point.
Yeah, good point. Suzanne?
No, nothing.
Lou?
Okay, so I'm just chasing this car park signage stuff, and I should know, but I didn't know, and I asked Rod and Neil about, as you go into the entrance to the car park on the main road, not the Lurburn bit, but the main road, is the ownership of the land, the little bit of land with a building in it, as you pull into the car
On
park.
the right.
The reason for asking is that when we were discussing him giving us some ideas, plans and designs, it's the placing of and the visibility without being highway close, because then we go into that, we've had that discussion about the laws and regulations for highway. So my question was, my naive question was, they're owned by who?
Wells Almshouses.
Wells Almshouses.
Well, on one side.
And what on one side?
And Tickles the
Tickles
left.
the other. What is the implication of asking planning responsibility to put the posts of a sign, hypothetically, into somebody else's land? That's my question, because I've got to go back to them about positioning and visibility, the best visibility for a sign if we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Is the question.
How far off the boundary do they need to go?
Well,
So, you imagine the fencing.
yeah. So basically, I'm sorry to be so crude about it, but
No, it's
basically as near to that corner for visibility coming from Cocklake to Webmore as possible. And he suggested that one of the options is to slice it into the back of that fence on that corner, which would be into the almshouse bit of land.
You'd have to seek their permission, obviously.
Yes,
permission,
obviously, yeah, and I wouldn't know the process, and could I have some advice, or who would I go to for that
Their
process?
agent is Carter Jonas, the estate agents in Wales. They are
Right,
the agents for the Almshouses, and I always direct all my correspondence
Yeah.
to them. Because we did have a lady came once, it's
Yeah.
but I didn't.
sorry to be
It's-
so
she
crude,
was
but
only
so
trained,
that's
but-
Webmore, and this is
Is-
Cocklake.
Yeah, but that's
Is there a way that you could? Is there a way that? Liv, is there a
Sorry,
way that you
Neil.
could take a photo of where you're proposed or where
Yeah.
we propose,
Yeah.
and then superimpose
Yeah,
the
I'll
signage
ask that.
on
He
that?
took some photographs, so chicken and egg.
So,
I'll ask him back
Yeah.
for some photographs
This
and
is what-
suggestions.
This is
Yeah.
what we want to do,
Good idea.
and then
Yeah,
Get them to meet you on site.
yeah.
So
Well, I've
we've
done
got-
that once, but I need to do that
And you
again.
can
The
sister-
Almshouse people.
The arms
sis-
people.
you could
Yeah.
sister the post behind the boundary fencing.
Yeah,
Because when you start putting them out in the ground, out further out, then
Yeah.
it causes a maintenance
of
issue.
course it does. Yeah. So what? Not now, Rod, but could you just ping me the name of that estate and those
Yeah.
correspondents, please?
Yes, I will, sir.
Cool.
Do it tomorrow for you.
Thanks, Lou.
Sorry, can you come back to me? I think it was on the last minutes about the lighting at Christmas, and so I phoned this something field. It's a big concern in Bristol at Do Them All, and what we need to do is to send is to tell them roughly what we need, and what I really want to do is to send them some photographs of the streets. Could I ask if Rod or somebody could take the photographs and send them of where we imagine them to be fitted.
I'll take
I
them,
have
but we were just
suggested that
talking
they
up the
come
borough,
down.
weren't we?
Just going up the borough.
Through the
It
borough,
would be
wasn't that?
several. Well, yes, but how many? I mean, I think we're going to start with one or two. I mean, they're expensive.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
You see, in the borough, yes, we've got to find out where we can put it. But also, of course, down Church Street is much easier.
Yeah.
So if we could just send them a photograph of those two.
Yeah, no problem.
Do you
I'll
mind?
sort that.
Thank you.
Okay. Back to you, Nick. Neil.
No.
Laura. Thank you. Any issues, questions?
Someone asked me yesterday if we were aware of the vandalised lights, the path going through from into the car park.
They've been repaired.
Been
sorry.
repaired?
They've been repaired.
They have?
They have.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I know
Yeah.
I got told yesterday that
We
they...
paid the bill last week.
No, they've been
Okay.
done. I highlighted
I think
last
that was numbers.
meeting,
Yeah.
and they've been repaired.
Oh no,
Unless they've been done
just
again.
Someone said,
Oh, don't tell me.
I don't know, I just got,
I've been to see them, and they were concreted in last time I saw them.
Yeah.
right, okay. It's only yesterday I got told,
Right.
so it might be, I think down there,
That's all right.
it's been a while.
Okay.
Contract's over.
Julia?
I just noticed that email from Steve News about a new street light. I wondered if we could just hear the clarification.
Just got to talk on correspondence on that actually.
We'll bring that
It's
up.
coming up in
Okay.
correspondence.
Alright.
Right. Yeah, really, I just want to, carrying on from the car park and the lopping of the trees. And I went and had a look at them, and what we've got now is we've got the original mesh fence that fenced in the gardens of the sanctuary houses. Then we've got where they cut the trees down. They were going to make sure that they killed the stumps. I can't see whether they've done that or not. That's not visible.
Yeah,
But
are.
they definitely.
Plugs in all the way
Are
round.
the plugs in? All right. Well, they've done very well. But we've now got half a dilapidated fence, haven't we? The fence is half our fence that we put in that caused the problem in the first place is still there. But in parts it's fallen down.
Nice.
I'll go and take the photographs
Yeah,
of
do,
it.
yeah. Okay.
But unless we remove that fence or position it where their fence is, we're going to have that whole scenario happen again, aren't we?
Yeah.
This is our fence, or it's not
It is our fence.
not housing associations.
No, it's our fence.
The wooden one.
The wooden one's our fence.
Here's ours.
It's ours, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Does it need to be there? Because it was that caused the problem of the no man's land.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Let's get some photos. Let's take a
yeah,
view on it.
I'll take
next.
some
Okay.
photos and bring
This
it
is
up
a
on the
meeting
next meeting.
Is it at a point where it's going to cause any danger to anyone?
Well, it could do, but it looks awful.
Well,
It's half of it.
I don't mind it looking
down.
awful, but is it a health and safety hazard? That's the.
Well, I suppose it could be if a kid runs and the fence falls on him.
Let's have a photo.
Let's get a photo and we'll take a
Who
picture.
knows?
Alright. Okay. Holly? Any?
Oh no, sorry.
Sorry.
I'm still here.
Glennis. No? Okay. Okay, great. Okay, moving on. Item 17, correspondence. Okay.
We're inundated with lamppost correspondence in the last 3 days. I think it's because they painted the new lampposts black, and everybody spotted it now. They spotted them with silver before.
What do you reckon?
This
Exactly. One inside of Masonic Hall is a new big black
Oh yeah.
with an egg lamp on
So
it.
it's been there nearly probably 3 months or more.
Yes.
And when I rang up to query it, they told me it's a replacement because the one attached to a cottage opposite, which the people that moved in didn't want on there, and so they took that one off and they moved the lamp across the road basically. So it's a replacement at no cost to the parish, I was told. And I said, you're not going to leave it silver, are you, like that, because it's sun shining on it. He said, I'm going to paint it black, which it did last week. And since that it's been painted, everybody's writing in and ringing in. Members of the Green Group looks like it, I think.
Yeah,
Why are we having more street lamps? I mean, we haven't talked about the Mushy Road one yet, which is going to come in May, so it's been agreed already. Anyway, there will be an article, I think, by Dave Hopkins in the Wetmore News.
But going back to that then, if it's written into the Wetmore News, I thought we should have been notified if he was publishing a letter in there for us to respond in that same copy.
Well, you copied that email to the Wetmore News, I know.
Is that not right?
Well, what happened?
Following previous articles, we've
Yeah.
never been given an
But he had-
opportunity.
Bill hasn't contacted me to say he's going to print it, but I expect he will. But I will query whether he is. But it would be nice, because if we've had something like this before, the parish council's made a comment straight after, immediately, so you haven't got to wait another
No,
month.
that's always been the...
So that would be rather nice if somebody could write a comment, you know, reiterating what you've just said.
Yeah.
Which you've already responded to him anyway, so to that effect, so...
Yeah, but if it's,
But
we
it's
need that
something
response in the...
Well, no, but we've had it before where members of the community have put letters in, and we haven't been notified, and it's been items that have been quite important to the
Well, I
parish.
have picked up the last few months.
And we haven't been able to respond, which we should be able to in that same article, really. So if we can, that'd be great. But yeah, we've already responded to him,
Yeah.
but not in that form. So
I will find out if it's going to be public.
That's the thing, yeah.
and just going back to with regard to the street lights, because there's been 3 or 4 letters or emails coming in, and one regarding LED lighting and what the parish council are going to do. I don't know if you recall, but we did actually look into it a while back, and it is a county matter. So, you know, I felt that we did our bit, and we were actually liaising with the Green Group, who were looking into getting an LED bulb for the acorn lamps that we use in the village. So, I'd just like to put that one out there, that we did try and, you know...
Could you actually put this down on paper so that we've got a response that we can put in? If you could actually write a response and send it to whoever. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. If you just write a response.
No, just giving the opportunity to respond is great, really. But
that's what we want. Yeah.
The fact that we did try, and it's, I think it was cost prohibitive at the time.
Yeah, it was very expensive.
It was about 300 quid a bulb, was it? Something like that.
I think it was more than that.
Well, yeah, depending on the location and what have you.
I think the point was that as existing bulbs are replaced, then county said they would replace with LEDs.
Yeah.
So we went, right, fine, if you're going to do it in your own good time, fine, we don't have to do a lot.
Yeah, but they put new street lamps in. There's certainly been one installed up at Mill Lane, and it's not even the same as the acorn lamps that we've got in the rest of the village. So
No, we get the cheap chubby ones.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Just so your lighting is
well,
so we're
what can I say? So, you know, there's no consistency in any of the approach there, really. So, we just need to... Yeah, I think we just need to clarify.
Yeah, I need to respond to these writers
Anyway,
as well, sometimes, as soon as we get something drawn up.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else correspondence?
No, thank you.
Okay, committee reports. Cemetery.
Well, I believe there's a tree being vandalised, Jessica.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so we'll go
I'm
and
looking
check
to
that
see
out.
what it is.
We'll
Yeah,
go out and check that out, see if we can...
Tree's been vandalised.
yeah, been pulled out the ground. Somebody thought it was going to be a Christmas tree. It's the
Redwood.
redwood one.
Oh, seriously.
Sequoia, that's a bit big.
It's one that the money when we planted some of these trees around, William went up and got them from Shoe Valley Trees, I believe it was, wasn't it? And I think it was nearly £600 he spent up there in trees because they were bigger trees. And he went by, must be a fortnight ago or more, and said to me, "Mum, do you know the redwood tree's been pulled out of ground?" So the next time he went by, so he walks around twice a weekend, so he went down and he said, "One root's left, they couldn't get the root out to take it away." And it was growing up, it wasn't the very high one, it was going up nice because William had checked with Tom, the people, that it wouldn't poison the cows and all that, because William was keen to have this tree that would be there in 100 years' time or so that would look different to the rest.
Yeah.
And somebody's pulled it out.
We'll try and get it replanted when we can.
Can we get it replanted?
We're going to have a look tomorrow.
We'll have a look tomorrow.
We're
Not me,
going to
but
I didn't know,
send
so
the man
yes,
that
I
can.
didn't see it.
No, it was said on the phone.
Okay.
They want to do all that.
Well, yes. Anyway, right. Facilities, allotments and footpaths. Mike, nothing? Finance and general purposes. Well, following on from finance, I think we'll have to sit down again and reevaluate what we're going to do with regard to the playing fields. Okay, for that money. Housing.
No, nothing at the moment.
Cross farm.
Well, no, nothing other than February. now because of the POS is being held up by Sedgemoor, then they haven't said anything about the planning
Any
permission
joy
yet.
with getting the samples boards removed?
Yes, I emailed Rod earlier, apparently he's made it smaller.
Oh, right,
It's
okay.
been made smaller.
They are a requirement for the starting of sites, so it's just the fact that where they
I've
put
already
them.
put it, right, so it's blocked window.
So
Yeah, it's
that's
been made
just
smaller,
that's just
apparently.
unfortunate, really. Okay, highways, car park and brook.
Don't think so.
No, brook survey's done, but it's a rather large document, so I'll just print it out so you can all have a look at it whenever you want. Planning.
On the 30th of this month, next meeting, 30th, Wednesday the 30th.
Was there any more on with regard to the digging out of the area down on the Cheddar Road?
No. No, nothing more at all. No, I have an acknowledgement saying they will deal with it.
Yeah, it takes them a while.
But there was more tip there today.
Yeah, no, they've dealt with another one next door, haven't they?
Who's tipping it?
Sorry?
People that bought it. Oh, I've heard they're going to build a fattening shed there. This is what I've been told from another farmer, and I expect it's right. That he's going to have a big fattening shed there, and then he'll want a house.
Yeah, it came up at planning, didn't it? Because the man came and who lives opposite, who's got holiday cottages, and he turned it down. We said about I don't know if any evaluation of things come through, because we did suggest that if it's going to be for cattle, that is a flood area, not so much for flooding, but it goes straight into the major watercourse at the bottom.
Yeah.
Sedgemoor turned it down.
Turn it down.
The enforcement are on it, but they take their time. Unfortunately, they're busy.
And get this, it was on road safety grounds,
Yeah.
and there was a car accident there this last week.
Yeah.
And they're actually complaining that the car went into their hedge.
What's left of it?
Nice.
What's left of it?
So I don't know, I haven't been down that way for a week or so, but I don't know the condition of the road. I can only assume it's quite muddy. So just everyone be just everyone be careful driving. But I'd certainly like someone to go out and look at the condition of the road because of the amount of mud and stuff on there. Really, if cars are going
I will
in.
check enforcement again tomorrow, I think. So we've had one response from another miscreant along the road, haven't we?
Yeah, they've got to apply for
They've
planning.
got applied planning permission with their dog agility.
Yeah. Okay, reports from reps on committees. Isle of Wedmore News. Play areas. Nothing from me. No. Just with regard to play areas, should we put it on the agenda for next month with regard to, starting to move that on?
Yes.
I'll put something together in the meantime and see how we can progress that and try and bring in what Pete was suggesting and Polly and try and bring it all under one roof really. So
I'm sure another play area across farm.
exactly. So
I
we
did
try
have a
and
brief chat with Pete earlier
try
about
and
it,
tie,
actually. Just, I said,
you know, that
play
everyone's
nicely and share the money.
well. There's going to be grabbing at funds for various. So you know, it's got to work for all.
You play nice.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. SALC. Excuse me. Playing Fields Management Committee. Laura's a meeting on Monday.
No, I wasn't. I'm on holiday.
You can go.
No.
No.
But I think
I can only assume is what Pete was more or less saying. Village halls.
Can I just ask one question? We got a meeting tomorrow night at Blackford Village Hall. I mean, what is the situation with the council taking over the play area? I mean, is that going to happen?
Well, we already.
I mean, if nothing's happened yet, that's all. But I no.
We already look after it in effect.
Sure,
we appoint someone from the community.
It came up that I think it was a comment from someone at I think last council meeting that it may be that you're going to have an umbrella with all three play areas.
So what I'd like to do, I'll tell you what I'd like to do is with the play areas is go. We'll advertise. Some exciting new things are going on with the play space within the community. We'll produce a pot of money that we've allowed for within the finance budget. There's some further money that's available to be used for play areas. So I'd like to say, right, everyone in the community form your own committee an appointed chair that can come and report to the parish council. You've got, say, £10,000 to start with, and you go out and see what you want to do with the players of the community. That's what I want to do.
Right.
Good.
My kids are are teenagers now.
That's right.
So they're a bit older for. So I think we need to bring some younger members of the community in. They'll know what their kids want, and then we can use it to go from tots up to teenagers.
So there's really what I'm really
So it'll it'll revert back to how it is currently, but with a new committee. And hopefully a bit more blood and some money.
But at the moment there's no immediate change in anything because they put in another gate. To go in to the pay area.
Yeah. That failed the inspection I think last year.
Yeah.
And currently, Will's still going out and about doing his maintenance and doing the checks, and so our obligation as far as that's concerned hasn't changed.
No.
We will all, as a parish council, we're obliged to carry out the safety checks, so everything conforms. So that's how I see it moving forward. If anyone else has got another proposal, please come forward.
I mean, it's sorry to drag it out.
No, that's fine.
It's an AGM, and we in Blandford have got difficulty in finding. We're supposed to have so many interested bodies represented, and we find it difficult to get it because the Blackford Pay area for quite some years now has been more or less dormant.
Yes, yeah.
And so we didn't, and I just wanted,
Well, nobody can park there, can they?
Sorry?
Nobody can park there, can they? Sorry, it has to be
If we
said.
want to have a debate on that, it is open every day, and it is done every single day, other than from 3:15 until 4:30. And that's the way it is at the moment. We were advised by the school that that was not a pickup area. And that letter is still documented. The headmaster said it is not a designated area. We have told parents not to do it.
Well,
anyway,
we can rumble on about that, but going back to the areas, maybe it'll be 4 members of the community from Wedmore. There might be 2 from Thiel. There might be 3 from Blackford. I don't know how it would make up. I really don't know. But you can say at the AGM that's what we're looking to move it forward. Right.
Independent from the parish council.
Well, just an offshoot from the parish council, really.
We still have to manage it.
We've still got to. But it's just giving people of the community there, just a bit of input to what they feel that they might want for children and not just children really. We're talking about. Exercise equipment, and there's various things that we're looking at doing. So it's for all, isn't it? That's what we want to promote. So that's how I see it anyway. But
good idea.
Okay. So we've only just done Blackford Village Hall. So Suzanne, anything for Wedmore?
Not really. We've got plans, but nothing.
No? Okay.
The grants will be paid, £500 grants will be paid next meeting to each village hall as a sort of maintenance grants, which we do every year. We haven't been doing Wedmore because we had a loan agreement. Sorry?
We've had our money.
You had it?
You've already.
Wedmore Village Hall had it, hasn't it?
Not for this year.
We've had it for 3 years in advance. Is that something else?
Yeah.
That was doing with the chairs.
That was the chair. So.
Yeah. Raised seating.
Yes, raised seating.
Okay. Okay. Any item 19, master report, and items for the next meeting. Nothing currently from me. I'll put down some items that we'll certainly look at. I just need to mention one, and that's the heating within the building. It's very inefficient, as we know. So I've got some quotes coming in next 10 days with regards to getting some prices for the new heating in here, electric heating. just that
It's been on all day today.
it's been on all day, it's not very efficient.
Warming up.
So we're looking at getting some Wi-Fi enabled heating systems that can be put on remotely if Rod can't make it or whatever. So yeah, that's next. And a log fire in the corner of the
Barbecue.
Somewhere.
Okay, we're meeting closed.
8:50. Making sure.
Thank you.